Hello, hello, my darling sweet friend, and welcome to this beautiful, deep edition of Peace Talks Tuesday with Braveheart Open Mind Live. I am absolutely delighted that we are here sharing this time and space together, because you being here with me means that you have chosen to take time out of your day to focus on your own beautiful self-relationship and self-love and deepening your own self-intimacy. And that is so juicy, so good. Just think of it. You have chosen to come here right now in devotion to yourself. And that is wildly and magically alluring, isn't it? Ah, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for you. I am not, however, overly excited for today's topic because we're talking about unworthiness, and this one feels like such a big one to unpack. So I'm grateful that you are here with me. I am grateful that we are talking about this together, because feelings of unworthiness can be some of the most deeply entrenched and deeply held feelings that we as humans can access or can bury deep inside of ourselves. And discussing the topic of unworthiness is inherently central to discussing self-love, isn't it? So it makes sense that life is calling upon me. The universe is calling upon me to address this, not just for you, but also for myself. Because this weekend I am giving a talk on unworthiness because it was asked of me. And I feel ready, but not ready. Do you know that feeling where you feel ready, but not ready at the same time? Feels like something that is perfect for the Peace Talks method, where we bring peace and harmony between two conflicting parts, doesn't it? So it's a good thing we're here together experiencing this right now. And the universe even gave me something last night to feel unworthy about. So it's really been cute of the universe to prepare me really well for this talk tonight. So let's see. Let's talk about my unworthiness for a moment, because unworthiness is a lot to unpack. And if you're sitting here with ants in your pants or feeling like a sense of discomfort, it can be easier to feel at ease when you know that other people are also experiencing that same feeling right alongside you. So, first I was going to talk about one of the reasons why unpacking unworthiness is so helpful to us in living our best lives, in creating the lives of our dreams, because unworthiness often manifests or shows up for us in things like self-sabotage. And when I say self-sabotage, I mean things like perfectionism, something that sounds really good, like I like everything to be perfect, which was so me in high school, so me. But perfectionism is secretly unworthiness and self-sabotage, because you sit there perfecting and perfecting and perfecting and perfecting. And it turns out when you're in a state of perfecting, you don't actually take action in a lot of regards. Luckily for me in high school, there were always like due dates for assignments, so I had to take action. But when we are adults without due dates and we're speaking about our sweet, dreamy dreams and going after what we desire in life, there's no due date for that. And we can sit in this spiral of perfecting an idea or feeling like an idea is not good enough yet. And that is inherently linked to that idea of unworthiness. And it shows up as us sabotaging our own dreams. Another way that unworthiness tends to show up as self-sabotage in our lives is avoidance. And using avoidance as a self-sabotage tactic is something that I used to be really good at. And I try really hard not to be good at it anymore. In fact, avoidance is one of the things that when I started therapy a year ago, I really had lots of long conversations with my therapist about. And avoidance can be one of those roasty, toasty topics also of holding ourselves back, because if we don't feel good enough to do something yet, we'll just pull back and shy away from it entirely and avoid anything to do with thinking about what could get us from square one to our dreams, right? So this topic of unworthiness goes beyond just feelings of unworthiness. It affects our lives in a wide variety of ways. And we don't need that in our lives, do we? We need to expand and feel our own inner magic and be deeply in touch with who we are and what we desire and how we desire to be in this life. And so the Peace Talks method is one way where we can bridge the gap between feeling unworthy and desiring truly to live our best lives. And by live our best lives, I mean living a life where you feel wild and free and drenched in your own inner magic and possibilities. Best life doesn't have to be someone else's attainable goal. I mean, what does it feel like for you to feel like you have true freedom? To feel like you are tapped into your own intuition and inner magic? What are you put here on this planet to do or to create? That is living your best life. So how do we get from these cruel thoughts of unworthiness, which is often how unworthiness shows up, right? It can be very straight up, obvious thoughts like, you're not good enough, or you'll never be good enough, or how dare you think that you could ever do XYZ thing. And so it can be really overt like that. And it can also just show up as fear or show up as imposter syndrome, this feeling of not belonging because you're not good enough. And so when it comes time to try and bridge or marry that gap between feeling unworthy and having those unworthy thoughts and truly being in love with who you are and what you're here to do and being able to take action on it, finally, those steps that we go through in the Peace Talks method of trying to find the highest intention of what we feel in conflict with comes to the forefront of being incredibly important, because it would be so freaking easy, wouldn't it, to feel like you don't want to sit down and talk with your unworthiness, because she has the tendency in your brain to be so mean, so unkind. And that's where you can kind of use the peace talks method gradually. The truest and deepest change, I'll explain what I mean. The truest and deepest change that you can go through with the peace talks method is making a change on an identity level. So if you, as a part of your core identity, believe that you are unworthiness, you literally in your being are unworthy, that is the point of deepest change. And sitting down to talk with that part of you might feel incredibly scary, because that part of you, if I had to guess, was incredibly mean to you at some point or multiple points in your life. I need to gather my thoughts for just a second. My mind is going in two different directions, so let's bring it back. Let me finish that thought of on the stair stepping. So what you can do instead of sitting down for the peace talks method and talking it out on an identity level, you can step it back to talking to a specific thought that comes up for you most often, because your identity is the core thing that allows these thoughts to happen. So it might feel easier to deal with the thoughts one by one than it does to go straight for the core thing, the core belief about your own identity. And it's really up to you in what feels safe and what feels comfortable for you today on whether or not you are going to sit down and chat with that part of you who truly believes to the core of your identity in that unworthiness. Who is it inside of your identity that allows for unworthiness to be a part of your identity? That can be a really salty, deep topic. And it's okay. It's okay if you want to deal with some of the littler thoughts and beliefs that stem from this core identity first, before you dive right in and meet with that part of you. So if you want to take things slowly today, that is okay. Because some of our deepest emotional traumas in life can come from these feelings of unworthiness. I think the beginning of the depth of my unworthiness really took hold after being broken up with by my high school sweetheart that went into college, when he broke up with me for the second time. And I felt truly and utterly unworthy, unwanted. I can remember just sobbing on the bathroom floor, like my heart was ripped out of my chest emotionally, right? And if you felt this feeling of feeling like you almost can't even hold your atoms together, that's how physically painful this heartache is. If you can relate to that, let me know. And I think that was the beginning of like the true badness with my unworthiness journey. And feeling those feelings really primed me or set me up to enter into an emotionally abusive relationship in college, and to just get the heck abused out of my mental state and emotional state. And I think when I first realized that my unworthiness was not only something that I felt, but that it was deeply a problem now, was when I started self-harming in college. And I tried to ask my then boyfriend, the abuser, the narcissist. I tried to like reach out to him for help because I knew that this behavior was problematic. And not only the behavior, but also like the thinking of 95 tragic ways to die throughout a day was deeply problematic, obviously. And his response to me at the time was, well, that doesn't sound good. And then he changed the subject. So I felt like totally denied, like just another in a long list of red flags in that relationship that my sweet self was not aware of at the time. And I mean, I was aware of it. I just wasn't aware of it. If that makes sense. My soul knew. My soul knew that it was not good for me. My psyche was a whole other story. She was primed and ready for that that type of abuse. So if you are feeling unworthiness to that degree, hi Tyler, thanks for popping on with me. Things are all well now. Thank you for hoping so. If you are feeling those feelings to that degree, I absolutely encourage you to go seek a therapist or a counselor and get yourself some really beautiful and deep and rich mental health support, because having walked that road and also having gone to therapy this last year, it would be the best thing for you to get the support you need beyond just this video, because coaching is not the most trauma-informed field. And I encourage you to get the help on the level that you need. Here today, we can begin to unravel these feelings of unworthiness by engaging with ourselves in ways that feel far more compassionate and gentle and beautiful than perhaps many other ways in which you've engaged with yourself before. Because when we feel these feelings of unworthiness, as I said, it's very easy to be alienated from them. They're not kind, so we want to remove ourselves from them as much as possible. And I'm going to ask you today, to the degree with which it feels comfortable for you to offer compassion and hospitality to that part of you who feels unworthy. Because that part of you who feels unworthy, who snipes at you with those little comments about how you're not good enough, or that's not meant for you, or he's too good for you, or it's no wonder he doesn't love you, you ugly fat cow person, right? Whatever these thoughts are that get sniped from that part of you that feels unworthy to your conscious mind, I know that it's tempting to feel at odds with them, because they're mean thoughts. They're cruel thoughts. And if you desire to make peace with that part of you who feels unworthy, if you desire for those thoughts to be neutralized, then one of you has to hold out an olive branch to the other. If it's you versus your unworthiness, someone has to take the first step. And today, with the Peace Talks method, that's what we're here to do, is to take that first step. Or if you've been engaging with your unworthiness for a while, that second step, or that third, or that 99th. I know for me that I have not reached the end of my conversations with my feelings of unworthiness, because I felt them just last night in a new way that I wasn't 100% aware of before. And I made a post about that a little bit earlier if you want to go scroll back and read it after we're done here. So that's where we are in this live right now, is engaging with that other side of us And if you have never done the Peace Talks method before, that is totally fine. I am going to lead you right through it. And if you have done it before, welcome back. I am so freaking excited that we are here together and that you are back for more of engaging in your self-intimacy and self-relationship and self-love. So, what I would love for you to do within this sweet, beautiful Peace Talks method is just ask yourself, do you feel comfortable with talking to that identity that holds on to all of your unworthiness today? Or is there a particular thought or belief that you would like to speak with instead? Whatever you choose is perfect. Whatever you choose is beautiful, because that is what feels safe for you today. And self-healing, this beautiful work that we do, should always feel safe in some regard. If some coach is asking you to do something and it feels dangerous, feel free to put on the brakes, because you, my love, should always feel safe in doing work with yourself. So, and if you don't feel safe right now, this is your permission to leave this video or to leave live now, whatever it needs to be for you, my love. If you don't feel safe in engaging with this part of you right now. I almost said confronting, which really, I'll call my own thoughts out on that. It can feel very tempting to want to confront this part of you. But for right now, when we are engaging in the Peace Talks method, we will call it engaging with that part of you to diffuse that sense of friction, to diffuse that sense of being at odds. Because when you build a bridge between one part of yourself and the other, peace is the result, and there's no room for confrontation, because then your bridge will fail, right? It'll be faultily built. It'll be like that galloping bridge that you see like black and white videos of online. Galloping Gertie, I think that's the name of it. Google that later if you haven't seen it. It's wild, and like deeply concerning from an engineering standpoint. Anyway, so just decide for yourself what level of depth you would desire to do for the Peace Talks method today. And then, if it is safe for you to do so, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and just get in touch with your body. Feel your breath coming in and flowing out in whatever rhythm feels best for you. Just become attuned with who you are right this moment. And then, as I usually do, I'll ask you to envision yourself in the coziest space that you can possibly imagine. Maybe it's a real place, like the chair you drink coffee in every morning. Or perhaps it's a place you've visited before, or made up in your mind, like a sunny meadow with a big tree stump and butterflies and wildflowers. Whatever your comfy, coziest place is for you, you can mentally go there now. And as you're there, in your coziest spot, I'll ask you to invite in that part of you, or that thought that you have, that feels like it's feeding that idea of unworthiness. And just invite it into the space next to you or across from you, whatever feels best to imagine in as much or as little detail as you'd like. Perhaps it shows up as a blob person, or fully formed as the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 3 version of you with the emo hair and the darkness. Whatever, however it looks for you is perfect. And as the two of you sit in that cozy space together, know that in a moment, you'll ask that part of you or that thought that you have, what brings you by today? And you'll listen for the answer. And perhaps you've already gotten that answer of what brings you by today from that part of you or that thought that you have. Just listen for what the honest answer is. Perhaps it said something like, because you deserve it, because you deserve to feel unworthy. Or maybe it said something like, to keep you from doing something stupid. Whatever the answer is, that's okay. Our goal is to be honest here today and just to listen to each other. You listening to that part or thought, and it listening to your questions. Because in a moment, we are going to ask a question that will invoke it to give you what its highest intention is for you. What is the best reason that it exists in your mind for you? And maybe it'll take asking this next question 5 times, or 11 times, or 10, or 8. However many times we need to ask this question is a-okay, just perfect. Because eventually, when we ask this next question again or again, we'll get an answer that feels like love. We'll get an answer that feels like bliss, something that aligns with your sweet top values. So once you've asked what brings you by today, you can listen for that answer and then ask the key question. For what reason do you desire or not desire that for me? Maybe if it answered to not do something stupid, for what reason do you desire for me to not do something stupid? Whichever way you need to ask that makes most sense for how your part or thought answered you. For what reason do you desire or not desire that for me? And you'll get a new answer. And whatever that answer is, ask again. Okay, that new answer. For what reason do you desire that for me? And listen for the next answer. Beautiful. For what reason do you desire or not desire that next thing for me? And again, okay, that new thing that it just answered. For what reason do you desire that for me? And just keep asking this question, digging to get that highest intention, the intention that feels like love, like truth, like peace. For what reason do you desire that for me? For what reason do you desire that for me? Just keep asking as few or as many times as you need. knowing that with each answer given, you're getting a higher and higher intention that that part or thought holds for you. For what reason do you desire that for me? For what reason do you desire that for me? And maybe you can feel that with each next answer, more and more of that part of you or that thought is becoming aligned with the wholeness of you. You can sense that higher intention with each answer. For what reason do you desire that for me? And if any of your answers feel like they sound like they're about other people, like to do something for family, or for my kids, or for my dogs, keep in mind that this exercise is about you. So just ask next, what would that do for me? To bring it back to your sweet self. And just keep asking, keep re-engaging. For what reason do you desire that for me? And maybe you reach a point where that other part of you or that thought doesn't want to readily give you an answer. That's okay. Just go back to the last two things that it told you. So, okay, you desire for me to not feel stupid and to see myself as happier. Okay, both of those things. For what reason do you desire those two things for me? And see what comes up when you loop two past answers together. Breaking through into that place where things begin to feel more aligned, more of love. For what reason do you desire that for me? Knowing that the higher the intention is, the more closely aligned with love and with joy and with happiness the answers are, the more it begins to meld into the wholeness of you, because you can get behind love, can't you? Knowing that you just want what the highest intention of that thought or part wants for you. You can get behind love, can't you? You can get behind happiness or joy or bliss or freedom, can't you? And it feels better and better the more aligned the two of you are now. The more whole the two of you feel. Perhaps you even envision that the two of you are holding hands now, or sitting side by side. And what would happen if you reached with your arm and gave that part of you or that thought a hug now, as she tells you that she only wants happiness or peace or love for you, doesn't she? And you just want peace and love and freedom and happiness for yourself. So really, you've always been a part of the same desires, the same whole now, haven't you? And this coming together of you and of her feels like coming home, doesn't it? To a little bit more wholeness and peace and love, and that's beautiful. And as soon as you feel these feelings of peace and love begin to vibrate or resonate inside you, you can take a moment to enjoy it. Maybe you wrap your arms around yourself in a sweet hug, feeling so good to hold yourself in a state of wholeness and peace. And then once you feel that state of wholeness and peace, I invite you to flutter your eyelashes open, rejoining the world with all of you, more of you in harmony now. And perhaps just reflect on how that old conflict used to make you feel in contrast to the peace and wholeness that you feel now, which is so beautiful, isn't it? And I'm so excited that you walked through this process with me today. Engaging with yourself like this is one of the most intimate things that you can do for yourself. And I'm so proud of you for having done this today, or tomorrow, or the next day, however often you need to engage in this process, to slowly and slowly combine all parts of you into harmony. It feels so good, doesn't it? I love you so, so much, my darling sweet friend. Thank you for joining me for this Peace Talks Tuesday edition of Brave Heart Open Mind Live. I hope that you have just the most magical evening or day. Evening if you're watching live in the same time zone as me, or whatever type of day it is if you're watching the replay or in an area that is not the same as mine. And if you are watching from a different area across the globe, thank you for joining me. And if you are watching live and it's evening, thank you for joining me. Thank all of you for joining yourself for this time, because really, you're joining me, but like really, the real magic is when you join with yourself. I love it, love it. All right, my loves, from my heart to yours, my darling sweet friend, I am sending you so much love. And I hope that you have the most amazing day.